in class. Thank you for tuning in again for our web series about persuasive speaking. Today I'm here to talk to you about crafting your proposition statement. If you don't know what that means, please look into a little bit more the PowerPoints and your book and the previous videos, and then this will make a lot more sense. So, when you're doing a persuasion of policy, once again, is something that's going to encourage action, asking the audience, and if not the audience, the government or an industry or society to act in a certain way. You're going to need to have a proposition statement. And that's just a fancy word for persuasions for a thesis statement. It's the exact same thing. It's your central idea. So, when you are putting your speeches together for your big persuasion speech assignment, you're going to be creating a proposition statement, and I'm here to help you do that because I understand that it's going to be difficult. You're going to be like, I want to do this topic, but I just can't make it into a proposition statement. I don't understand, and I'm here to help. So if you have any issues, please come to me, but first I want you to actually try. So let's work on that first. So let me give you a little bit of background information. So proposition statement sounds kind of scary. We already know what a central idea or thesis statement is. So this is just another word for it that's specifically for persuasions of policy. Because when you have a persuasion of policy, you as the speaker, the advocate, you are making a proposal. You're making a plan that you want your audience to agree with and jump on board with. So when you're doing a proposal or a proposition statement, essentially you're telling us what exactly needs to be done and by whom. Okay, so the format for every proposition statement ever is who, should or should not, what. So you need to figure out who is going to be the big who that can make the change. Should we make the change or not, and what exactly are we talking about? So let me give you some examples so you're not super confused. So one of the really easy examples is school uniforms. So I know like in 5th or 6th grade, if you were doing debates, like somebody might be like, I'm going to debate for or against school uniforms. Okay, that's so 6th grade, but we can certainly put that into a proposition statement. So, if you wanted everyone in Mount Laurel, K through 12, to wear school uniforms, who would be able to enact that change? Now, I would think that would be the Board of Education. The Mount Laurel Board of Education would be our who. Now, depending on the side of that issue, should or should not, that's where you decide what should be should or should not, and then what? Every K through 12 wears school uniforms. So let's put that all together. So if I was a 5th grader and I was sick and tired of people making fun of my clothes because it's not exactly right, then I might give a speech, a persuasive speech, a persuasion of policy, with a proposition statement saying, the Mount Laurel Board of Education should have K through 12 wear school uniforms. And that is a proposition statement. You could also do the living minimum wage. So a lot of states have put in place $15 an hour minimum wage. Now, New Jersey, for example, they are increasing the minimum wage by $1 every year until we get to $15 minimum wage. Some states are just throwing it into place, and others, people are like, no, that's ridiculous. Companies aren't going to be able to pay for that. So there's people on both sides, as always, with persuasive speeches. But let's say you wanted to make a proposition statement. You wanted to give a speech about increasing the minimum wage. If you wanted to do that, you would have to talk about who. the federal or state or local governments, depending on who you're specifically talking about, should or should not increase the minimum wage to $15. You want to be specific. So, if you were doing a speech against the raising of the minimum wage, your proposition statement would be, New Jersey, the state of New Jersey should not increase the minimum wage to $15. There you go. And then you would give the problems, the causes, solutions, or the need, the plan, the practicality, or you would just do problems, solutions, however you'd want to do it. Now, one of the best examples was actually given to me by a student, and I will not name her because she didn't do well in my class. Okay, so she came to me and said she really, really, really wanted to do a speech about cheerleading because she hearts cheerleading. Awesome. I love supporting the things that you guys care about. And I want you guys to do speeches that you're passionate about. So if you're passionate about something, choose something in that realm. Awesome. But she was like, I'm going to do my speech on whether cheerleading is a sport. And I'm like, sweetheart, that's a persuasion of fact. Cheerleading is a sport. Cheerleading is not a sport. That is a persuasion of fact. You're talking about facts, what is true. That's not a policy statement. So I helped her. I was like, okay, so that's a fact. What would be a persuasion of value for this? Even though we're not doing it, let's just use this exercise. Of course, she couldn't come up with it. I gave it to her. I was like, hey, if you were to give a speech that said cheerleading requires more physical exertion and is more dangerous than football, okay, you're saying something now, and it's a value statement. You're saying that your sport is better, or maybe worse, however you're looking at it, than this other sport. So now it's a persuasion of value. And I was like, well, what in this cheerleading industry, the sport of cheerleading, or the profession of cheerleading that's wrong? And she was thinking and thinking and thinking. I was like, hey, what about NFL professional cheerleaders? They are literally paid almost less than minimum wage. They are not allowed, lots of cheerleaders on professional sports teams are not allowed to fraternize with the players. They have to do all of like their hair, their makeup. They have to pay for their own uniforms. They have to go to all of these required functions without actually getting paid for those required functions. And they make no more than like $30,000 a year, which for what they're doing and the exertion and just the amount of time and energy spent essentially being like a mascot, they're not making a lot of money. So let's turn that into a proposition statement. Let's say that the NFL, who should pay cheerleaders more and give them better benefits. And I was like, this is such a great idea. And she was like, awesome. And then when she actually gave her persuasion, she did, is cheerleading a sport? And I gave her a terrible grade. So, because I helped her through it, like, what's up with that? Okay. So hopefully those 3 examples gives you an idea of how you can craft a proposition statement. Your proposal to the audience, the class actually, of what needs to change and by whom. So once again, you need to make a proposition statement for your persuasive speeches because it's going to be a persuasion of policy. And this is going to be your thesis statement. A who should or should not do something to change a problem in our society in some way. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions for me, please reach out by email. I am always here for you, and hope you guys have a great day.